Welcome to A Moment of Xen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Xen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Xen Sams.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Xen Sams. Here's to another exciting episode. Always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for tuning in every Saturday night and engaging with me on social media thereafter. That truly makes it all worthwhile. Please continue to follow me at Xen Sams. That's Xen with an X, not a Z, Xen. SAMS. And remember, all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel that we upload Sundays at 2 p.m. via digital streaming. You can also check us out directly on Your Home TV platform, directly on our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Welcome back. Alongside our experts on the microphone, where we cover fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, cannabis, fintech, and health, and yes, everything in between from the millennial mom's perspective. Today, we have an incredible lineup of conversations that fuel the body, the mind, and the heart. Welcome to episode 242, celebrating 6 years on air. In the We Play It Forward segment, we're covering childhood Alzheimer's, from rare diagnoses to relentless advocacy. Tune in as we unpack the devastating realities of Sanfilippo Syndrome, often called childhood Alzheimer's, with Noelle Pacl. She's a mother, Navy spouse, relentless advocate, and a major social media influencer. In today's Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're talking about something interstellar and perhaps, well, extraterrestrial. Is it visitors or visions? 3i Atlas has everyone talking. We're going to be chatting alien intelligence and the math behind the mystery with the incredible Robert Edward Grant. He's a returning guest. He's a true polymath and best-selling author of Philomath. In our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're joined by a powerhouse couple in plastic surgery, Dr. Ramtin Kassir and Dr. Sheila Kassir. Together, they're breaking down the new era of recovery where science meets self-care, exploring how innovations like hyperbaric oxygen therapy and CO2 Lift Pro are helping patients heal faster, improve outcomes, and redefine post-procedure wellness. In the Clean Collective segment, brought to you by Society Brands and Crunchy, we're chatting with Dagmara Bini. She's a clinician, a researcher in integrative and functional medicine, and mama to the late social media influencer Zuza. And out of loss, she created Zuza's Way Integrative Care. Today, we honor Zuza, turning loss into legacy, a first look into a mother's journey through grief, grace, and healing. In our health tip of the week, brought to you by Suspera, today we're discussing an often overlooked skincare area, especially during the winter months: your hands. In our Brain Blueprint Express segment, brought to you by the Melillo Centers, RPM therapist Nancy Durazmo shares how her 25-year-old son, once minimally verbal, learned to spell and express himself through rapid prompting method, and how this tool is changing lives at the Melillo Centers. We'll be right back with Noelle Pacl in the We Play It Forward segment, covering childhood Alzheimer's. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Xen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. Kelly Williams is full of energy and incredible guests. Watch her anytime, free programming on Your Home TV network, and do follow her on social media for a chance to win monthly prizes. Check out The Kelly Williams Show on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Xen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Xen Sams. This is our special We Play It Forward segment presented by the We Play It Forward Foundation. Today, we shine a light on a devastating but little-known rare disease, Sanfilippo Syndrome. It's a genetic disorder affecting about 1 in 70,000 births worldwide. Often, it's called childhood Alzheimer's. It robs children of their ability to walk, talk, and eventually even recognize their loved ones. While fewer than 5,000 known cases exist in the US, at least the ones that are documented, researchers believe that the condition is wildly underdiagnosed. Tragically, most children with Sanfilippo syndrome live only into their teenage years, but with research and medication, we are seeing great progress. Today, we're unpacking the devastating realities of Sanfilippo syndrome, and this conversation is going to highlight the urgent need for research funding, demystifying stigmas, and celebrating the strength of caregivers who just refuse to give up hope. But amidst the heartbreak, there are warriors, parents who refuse to be silent. Joining us right now is one of them, Noelle Pacl. She's a mother, a Navy spouse, a relentless advocate. Through her social media and nonprofit work, she uplifts caregivers, supports disabled individuals, and champions military families. Above all, she is the proud mama of Logan, her Sanfilippo warrior. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you back. Welcome. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Let's cover the diagnosis journey. So when did you first realize something was off with Logan, and how long did it take to arrive at a formal diagnosis? What was your emotional journey during that time?
Right. So with Logan, the first thing we noticed was he was having some gut issues. He was around 1.5 when this was happening. And he just had this big bloated belly, so bloated that it was hard putting pants on him. And we were seeing specialists for that. They couldn't figure it out. And then when all that was going on, he started having chronic respiratory issues. And we couldn't figure that out either. And then after that, he started having speech delay, balance issues, and we were able to compare him to his twin brother, and we could see that he was falling behind in milestones that he should have been reaching. So after all of that, his pediatrician, she was like, you know what, this is a full body thing, and I think it's time to visit a geneticist. And then we went and visited a geneticist. We got genetic testing done, and that's when we ended up getting Logan's diagnosis at around 2 years old. The whole process really took about 6 to 9 months, which is actually really fast for a Sanfilippo child to get a diagnosis. And he also got it at 2 years old, which it's very young to get a diagnosis at that age. So it was stressful and scary and a little frustrating visiting specialist after specialist and not getting answers. But we were still fortunate to get a diagnosis so early.
Yeah. Because many families face that long road to answers, like you said, because Sanfilippo is just so rare. Those early symptoms are just so often misdiagnosed as autism or developmental delay. And one NIH study found that in ultra rare disorders, diagnoses can be delayed by up to 7 years from the first sign of symptoms. So you're right. I mean, Logan's diagnosis at 2 years old was extremely beneficial in your situation. So let's talk about subtype and symptoms. So Sanfilippo, to my understanding, has 4 subtypes, A, B, C, and D, with type A being the most aggressive. Which subtype does Logan have, and what were his first symptoms after diagnosis that really started to pave the way of this disease?
He has type A, which, like you said, is considered most severe because it progresses pretty quickly compared to the other types. After diagnosis, we started seeing the speech delay was real. It was real bad. Logan never spoke in full sentences. He was very good at expressing himself and letting us know what he needed. He had a few words, but that was one of the things that really went quickly, was the speech that he did have.
Globally, type A accounts for more than half of cases and is often the most severe, like you said. Types B and C may progress more slowly, while D remains the rarest. So each subtype can dictate the speed of neurological decline, making early recognition really critical. So coming back to that early diagnosis. So thank you for breaking that down, because looking back, do you think that there are any subtle signs you wish you had understood earlier? I mean, he got it pretty early on, but this is the kind of detail that could help another parent listening right now.
I would say it's really difficult because the issues that a lot of these kids have early on are actually pretty common. with young children, right? The respiratory issues, the GI issues. But I think what makes it different is the fact that it's chronic. And I would say that if you are trying to figure out what's going on and you're not getting answers and things aren't getting better, then that's when you need to start thinking that, okay, maybe it's something more.
Yeah. Let's talk about the daily challenges. So, what are the biggest medical and daily care challenges that you face, from neurological symptoms to mobility and GI issues or even sleep?
So, because Logan is 18 years old, we have gone through like phases. So, in the beginning, the struggles that we had were with sleep and behavioral issues. What people would call aggressive behavior, I don't consider aggressive. It was just that he was frustrated because he was losing the ability to express himself. He was losing skills and he didn't understand why. So, those were the biggest challenges when he was younger. The extreme hyperactivity, it was rough. And then we moved into more of, now it's more, we're seeing some mobility issues because of some bone deterioration in his hips, which is really common with Sanfilippo kids. But the biggest struggle we're seeing now is seizures. We're trying to get these seizures under control. So right now it's just kind of figuring out what medication works, and it's all trial and error, and it is a process.
So, walk me through a day in your life, the highs, the lows, and the moments of joy you still hold on to.
Well, I mean, right now we are at a really, besides dealing with the seizures, we're at a pretty good point. I mean, Logan is active. He is very happy. Our life is just living in the moment, right? We have therapies for Logan that he has to go to. The biggest one is physical therapy, trying to maintain that mobility for as long as we can. He also has in-home ABA therapy who work with him to just keep all the skills that he has. We have to practice those skills so he can hold on to them, because if we don't practice them, he will lose them. I mean, eventually he's going to lose them. That's just the way this disease is. But the more he practices, the longer he'll hold on. And really, we like to go hiking. We go to different parks. We are outside as much as we can be, especially during the summer here in Washington. Winter is rough, but really, our days just consist of living in the moment and soaking up just every minute that we can.
And with Logan being so high active, I know you said that his type is the most severe, but he's not wheelchair bound. He's still very mobile.
Yes.
He's not GI fed. He's capable of consuming his own food.
He is, yes.
I mean, it sounds like you are doing some incredible things, because just those two things alone in the Sanfilippo community are major feats. If at 18 years old, you still have that ability with him, right?
Yes, yes. And something that makes Logan unique is the fact that because he had an early diagnosis, he was able to get an experimental stem cell transplant, which is basically a bone marrow transplant, but instead they use donor cord blood, stem cells derived from donor cord blood.
And how old
So
was he when he got that?
he was 3 years old when he got it. This is an option for families, but it's not a popular option because it is extremely risky, dangerous, and the cutoff age is 3 years old. And there is no guarantee that it's even going to help, or that the transplant will take the first time. So it's not popular among the Sanfilippo community, but when Logan was diagnosed, it was the only thing out there. And I do feel that even though it was so scary and it was really stressful and hard on Logan, I think we made the right decision, because I think that that is why he's doing so well now.
Absolutely. And on top of the medical challenges, right, many families in rare disease communities face ignorance or stigma. I want to talk about that. So what misconceptions about Sanfilippo do you wish to change?
So there's a few things. I think the first thing that I really want to touch on is because Sanfilippo syndrome is nicknamed childhood Alzheimer's or childhood dementia. A lot of people just think that it is a brain disease, but it's important to remember that Sanfilippo affects the entire body, every single cell in the body. And that's why we see things like joint pain, and we see like bone deterioration. And that's why these kids that end up, having the mobility issues and needing the feeding tubes. Um, and I think that's important from a treatment standpoint as well, because sometimes the treatment may not help the brain entirely, but it could give them a better quality of life with all the physical symptoms that these kids are facing. So that's something I like to remind people of. This is a full body disease. And then the second thing that I've been thinking about lately, while it's been wonderful that all of us families have been spreading awareness about Sanfilippo on social media, and we have been able to get children diagnosed that way, and people just know about Sanfilippo now. But sometimes what I see is when we discuss the facial features of Sanfilippo, I see parents of young children panicking, because they'll look at the facial features and they'll look at their child and they'll be like, oh, they have thick eyebrows. They have a low nasal bridge. I think they have Sanfilippo, and they panic. And they get, it's scary to think that your child could have a terminal disease. So I want to remind people that while your child might have thick eyebrows, it doesn't necessarily mean they have Sanfilippo syndrome. They may have just inherited that from, I don't know, Uncle Tony, who has thick eyebrows. And a lot of children, babies and toddlers, also have low nasal bridges. That's just very common. You have to remember that these facial features, it is combined with the physical symptoms that these kids are having. That's when you really need to be concerned. So I just like to remind people of that, so they don't panic and, think that they need to go get their child tested immediately because they might resemble a Sanfilippo child.
Yeah, I love that you're addressing the fear mongering, because you're right. People are scrolling social media, and it is a distinct feature, the eyebrows. That's undeniable.
Yes.
And to the trained eye, you can in fact identify a child to the trained eye.
Right.
But again, the public is not trained, and the public does not know what you know, or what the professionals in the Sanfilippo community knows. Now, I want to touch on research and advocacy, right? So as of 2025, gene therapy trials are underway, and organizations like NIH's Urgent Network are funding ultra rare treatments. What advocacy or research efforts are you and your network leading? How can people listening support right now?
Currently, what I'm doing is just what I've been doing, is just posting on social media, trying to educate people. But I think a way that people can help out is by going to like the Cure Sanfilippo Foundation. And if they can donate towards research, because these are ultra rare diseases, there isn't a ton of funding put into the research. So every penny helps with this.
I agree. And more than 95% of rare diseases have no approved treatment, yet momentum really is growing. So for Sanfilippo specifically, there are gene therapy trials like UX111, and they're showing a lot of promise, but they face challenges with funding and FDA approval. FDA is always a roadblock.
Yeah, right now it's actually really frustrating, because we have a treatment that we know is safe and works for Sanfilippo type A. And because basically bureaucracy, it's being held up. So in our kids, we don't have that time. So we were told that possibly August of 2025, we were going to have a treatment for these kids. But now it's being held up, and we have to, maybe we'll get it in 2026.
Oh,
It's just so frustrating, because I feel like it always ends up this way. The science is there, it's good, it's just bureaucracy at the end of the day. So
yeah. Now, for parents who have just received a Sanfilippo diagnosis or are still searching for answers, what advice would you give? How would you sustain hope and strength?
I would say find your support system from your inner circle, but also reach out to the Sanfilippo community. It is a wonderful group of parents, and we have some really wise parents in that group, and they are always there to help you when you have questions and listen to to you venting, whatever you need. The group is just so supportive and wonderful. But I would also say, get mental health care. Your mental health is so important. I would say get into therapy, get the whole family into therapy, because this is a devastating disease and you're going to be dealing with anticipatory grief all the way up until the end. And it's not easy. And also allow yourself to grieve. Don't push it back. You need to allow yourself to grieve, but don't let it rule your life either. Try to live in the moment with your child, because one day that's all you're going to have are the memories, and you don't want to miss out on that. You want to have those moments to look back on. And I would also tell families there is hope. There's actual tangible hope out there right now. There are clinical trials. There is a possible treatment for type A on the way. You have real tangible hope. So,
Wow. What an incredible conversation. I thank you so much, Noelle, for coming here, for your vulnerability, for your advocacy, and for reminding us that even in the face of devastating diagnoses, love and resilience, they lead the way. Thank you.
thank you.
That was the We Play It Forward segment, Childhood Alzheimer's from Rare Diagnosis to Relentless Advocacy. To learn more or support, you can visit the Cure Sanfilippo Foundation directly at curesanfilippofoundation.org. And you can follow the We Play It Forward Foundation on the gram at We Play It Forward Foundation. And to connect with our guest, Noelle, you can check her out directly on the gram at Noelle. Okay, I'm going to spell out her name, Noelle Pacl. It's pronounced Pacl. Together, let's raise awareness, fund research, and keep playing it forward. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Tortora Promotions, specializing in white glove digital marketing, social media management, professional videography, and PR services. Based in New York City and partnering with hundreds of businesses nationwide, they deliver proven strategies that bring more customers through the door. If your old marketing methods aren't keeping up, Tortora Promotions can step in to help you stay ahead. Grow your brand and drive real results. Reach out today and follow them on Instagram at Tortora Promotions. Your business deserves it.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Today, we're talking about something interstellar and perhaps extraterrestrial. Is it visitors or vision? 3i Atlas has everyone talking. Today, we're chatting alien intelligence and the math behind the mystery. Now, the 3I stands for third interstellar object ever confirmed by astronomers, and that's following 1I, Oumuamua, discovered in 2017. Atlas is the name of the survey that discovered it. The Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, based in Hawaii and Chile, has been tracking this object. Right now, somewhere beyond Mars's orbit, a mysterious interstellar object called 3i Atlas, like I said earlier, is racing towards the sun, and the numbers, they don't lie. It's traveling at over 130,000 miles per hour, making it the third known interstellar visitor in human history. Telescopes from NASA, Hubble, and the James Webb Space Telescope have all locked in on it, revealing water ice, CO2, and even carbon-rich dust. But here's where things get really interesting. 3i Atlas is venting water too early, far beyond the distance where ice should melt. Some astrophysicists call it a cosmic fire hydrant. And of course, social media is ablaze with speculation. Is this a comet, or could it be an engineered craft? Some fringe reports even claim holographic imagery has been detected aboard. Well, to decode the numbers, the mystery, and the math behind all of this, I'm joined by returning guest Robert Edward Grant, a true polymath and best-selling author of Philomath. Robert is an innovator, an inventor, and an entrepreneur. He's the founder of multiple companies spanning medical technology, blockchain, and mathematical physics. He's also a leading voice on how geometry, consciousness, and frequency connect the physical and metaphysical. So let's find out. Is 3i Atlas just passing through, or are we witnessing the most mathematically elegant hello in history? Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, great to be here again.
Oh my goodness, there's a lot to unpack. So I'm gonna go start from the beginning. Everyone is buzzing. Is this alien aircraft or ancient comet? So let's start with the science. NASA officially classifies 3i Atlas as a natural interstellar comet, but it's displaying non-typical behavior, excess outgassing, unexplained water release, and an oddly stable rotation at incredible velocity, about 220,000 kilometers per hour. So from your vantage point, at that intersection of math and mystery, what could qualify as evidence that Atlas might be engineered or guided rather than random, an intelligent signal hidden in motion or symmetry? What do you think?
Well, first of all, its sheer size makes it very, very bizarre. It's 33 billion tons. Now to put that into perspective, literally, this is the size of Manhattan. It's an object the size of Manhattan that also has thousands of smaller objects around it traveling at the same speed. And the speed is a very important thing that I'm going to come back to in a moment, right? But we've never seen anything of this scale before. This is dwarfing Oumuamua. This is dwarfing pretty much anything we've ever seen. And then to be traveling at this velocity is just mind-boggling. And then also you mentioned the water vapor as well as the CO2 emissions coming off of it. And it also seems like the plume is headed in the wrong direction. Normally you have a comet that has a tail. In this case, there's a plume in front of it, and it's basically towards the sun. That's something we've not ever seen before either. So there are so many anomalies associated with this. And then also its trajectory. The trajectory is exactly 3 degrees above the plane of the ecliptic of the solar system. For an object to come in at that trajectory, exactly lateral to all of the planets in the solar system, is mind-boggling, and the chances of it mathematically are only 1 in 20,000.
Oh my gosh. That's fascinating. So we're not just looking for movement when we're looking at this stuff. I mean, you're looking for intention in the movement. It's kind of a cosmic punctuation mark in the language of physics, what you're describing.
Well, and not only that, the most important number in all of physics, I think you and I have talked about this before, is something called the fine structure constant. It is the separation between light and dark. This number is so important, it is the foundational basis of the Higgs boson, or what we call the God particle. It's the separation point between light's emission and its absorption. Now, this becomes really important to this because this is the one number that Carl Sagan had placed also on the Voyager spacecraft. So that if anyone in outer space ever saw us, right, ever found the Voyager spacecraft, they would know that we had a complex understanding of mathematics and physics because this is the foundational number that allows hydrogen to even exist. And it's 1 over 137. So 137 to the power of -1. And this is called the fine structure constant. In fact, the physicist by the name of Richard Feynman, who was on the Manhattan Project, said that it's as if God wrote this number, but we don't know how he pushed his pencil. It's literally the most enigmatic number in all of physics. And if you look at the speed of the trajectory of 3i Atlas, it's traveling at exactly 137,000 miles per hour. To me, that is a message. This whole thing is telling us that it's on the way.
Which brings me to holograms and these headlines, contact or clickbait. So what about those viral hologram claims? You've probably seen them. Videos claiming a projected image aboard 3i Atlas making contact with Earth. I mean, no credible observatory has verified anything of the sort, but it does raise an interesting cultural question because there are reports claiming that holograms are aboard that. Now, in a world of deep fakes, AI, and quantum imaging, how do we responsibly separate legitimate data from digital mirage?
What we have to start recognizing is that maybe what we believe is our degree of understanding in this scientific world of materialism probably needs to be modified because actually more and more people are starting to understand and believe in something more like simulation theory. And when you start realizing that we start to potentially live in simulation theory and that quantum physics, quantum tunneling was just the most recent Nobel Prize given, And back in 2022, the Nobel Prize that was given in physics was for quantum entanglement, which proved on the cover of Scientific American, it basically said local realism is false, and this year's Nobel Prize winners proved it. So when we start thinking about it in those terms, our interplay of our consciousness through something like Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is actually having an impact on the outcomes that we're seeing. Timelines, experiences, everything. The world around us is possibly far more malleable than what we think, and a lot less material than what we possibly believe from the scientific perspective. So all of these things start to come into play when you start thinking about things like, okay, holographic images being projected and then being connected through to channelers and remote viewers alike here on Earth. If there is an extraterrestrial, sort of that's behind all of this, and it's an intelligent design effort, then they probably won't want to give us a warning. So they'd be flying across our solar system at a speed that we would probably notice was something like the fine structure constant, which it is. And also they would probably do it in a way that was going to be sort of obvious. They'd come in at a trajectory at the plane of the ecliptic, exactly 3 degrees above it, so that it could have this perfect rendezvous.
Wait. It brings me to my next question. If they're here, how would we know? And you just touched on something extremely important. So if a more advanced civilization were behind this, the first evidence would probably be mathematical. And you've long theorized that prime number sequences, geometric pulses, and harmonic ratios could be the universal signature of intelligence, like cosmic Morse code, right? So what kind of measurable patterns would convince you that we're observing intention rather than accident? And now please go into what you were just going to say.
Well, literally, I mean, if I was going to choose one number to pick my velocity coming to Earth at, it would be 137,000 miles per hour. Why would I choose that? If I wanted to tell another civilization that I am also intelligent, that I understand the separation of light from darkness and the creation of all that is, the alpha constant, literally, the God particle, I would be traveling at that speed to send exactly that message. Now, it could very well be, maybe that's only 1 in 137,000 chances that they would basically choose exactly that speed. It just seems awfully, in combination with the other things, to me, discernment is the ability to see the patterns that are repeating. What this is, I believe, we've been given a lot of different clues, whether it's the plume direction, whether it's the speed, whether it's even the reports that the speed has also been slightly adjusted. So that would also show another degree of a intentionality that it came back and resolved back to 137,000 miles per hour. To me, all of these things are pointing to intelligent design.
Now, geometry is a calling card. Okay, so you've said geometry is the handwriting of God. Three-eye atlas's dust, tail, and comma shows symmetrical outflows. You just described that some analysts say resemble the ratio that we just talked about, right? A proportion found in galaxies and DNA and architecture alike. You've eloquently put this. I've learned this from you. So could geometry itself be a form of interstellar communication, a deliberate aesthetic code written across space?
I can tell you what I believe it is. What I believe it is, I believe the payload of this is actually geometry. And I believe that the geometry is intended for an up level of consciousness. Remember, geometry is like a QR code for the subconscious mind. Whenever you look and gaze at a geometric form, it basically downloads codes for you. It's like you've basically got a browser that's now gone in your subconscious mind to find a website that's associated with that QR code. The QR code is the geometric form itself. And just by studying the geometry up levels your consciousness. So if you wanted to leave something to subtly wake up a population, to subtly change the Earth, I would do it through geometry. And that's exactly what I've been actually doing as I post geometric forms on my page for the last several years, because people don't need to understand the forms. They just need to look at them and take them into their awareness. And once they do, it starts to transform them. It starts to transform them in ways that takes them out of dualistic thinking into transcendent thinking. And I believe fundamentally that that's very likely what we're dealing with here. I don't believe that we have anything to be concerned about at all.
Which brings me to the frequency test. So let's talk resonance. Every body in space has a vibration, a measurable frequency, if you will. And recent FearX data shows the 3i Atlas is emission rich in CO2 and hydroxyl, releasing nearly 40 kilograms of water per second at distances where sunlight couldn't cause that. That captured my attention. Could frequency be the new frontier for communication, like an energetic signature instead of a radio wave?
I don't think it's a new frontier. I think it's the original frontier of communication. I think everything is frequency. You're frequency, I'm frequency, right? And particularly when you start to understand that we're in a simulation, right? And maybe it's a spiritual life simulation game to expand consciousness. And when you start to understand that you're in that type of a simulation environment, and by the way, I did a post on my Instagram page where I had shown some segment of an AI. It was actually the architect speaking to somebody who asked the question, what's the one conspiracy that you think everyone should know that you're not allowed to say? And it said, okay, well, let me tear the Band-Aid off type of thing. And by the way, you live in a simulation and you're the creator of the simulation, right? And so I then put a poll at the bottom of it and I asked the respondents if they would, agree with this. Do they agree that you live in a simulation? And what was interesting and shocked me was that there were 5,000 respondents. Okay, that's a very statistically relevant survey. No doubt about it, that no matter how you look at that, that's statistically relevant. And 92% said, yes, we live in a simulation. Now, if I don't know what to call that, but awakening of consciousness, because actually the expansion of consciousness is coming through the remembrance of who we are. And I believe that the remembrance has its catalyst form in its earliest seed form in geometry and frequency. And geometry is simply frequency expressed in its visual form. And we think about geometry, it's also simply music that we experience with our eyes. And music is the geometry we experience with our ears. Everything is frequency, and all of it has the same syntropic or negentropic signature of creation and intelligent design behind it.
So what kind of actual data should the public be watching for? I mean, from NASA, ESA, or the JWST, what would genuinely shift the consensus from natural comet to engineered aircraft?
I think that people are going to have to see them literally, like have a ship right on top of Earth, stopped, suspended. And even then, some people might not even be able to perceive it as a ship. Why? So, for example, we might look at a raven or a crow, and you think that a crow, what color is a crow? A bird.
Black.
It's a black bird, right? It's a black bird. But do other birds see the crow as black? And the answer is no. And neither do you if you see it really close up, because you'll start noticing that it's rainbow colored.
Right.
It's iridescent rainbow colored. And that is only something some people can see. Not everyone can actually see the iridescent rainbow colors. Your eyes have to be resonating at the frequency of the iridescent rainbow colors in order for you to perceive it. So for people to be able to perceive 3i Atlas, even if it stopped right on top of Earth, only the people that are resonating at the frequency of it will be able to perceive it. And that's been true about all the interterrestrials, all the interdimensionals, and all the extraterrestrials that are actually here on Earth already.
Right. So whether Atlas turns out to be ice, code, or consciousness, it's really forcing humanity to look up and, more importantly, inward, because the real discovery isn't out there at all, but it's right here. And I think that this interstellar moment is revealing a ton about humanity, about our curiosity, about our fears, and our readiness for greater connection. And you just answered that question so eloquently, beautifully said, because the universe sends visitors only when we've evolved enough to recognize them, essentially.
And I think that's actually the good news here. The good news here, if this is indeed, and I firmly believe that it is, a type of contact, first contact, global contact, that is actually telling us something about the expansion of human consciousness, that we're ready to move beyond duality. Because if we're stuck in duality, we're stuck warring with each other all the time. And that might seem antithetical to what the world is actually doing right now, having just come off of, what we've seen, the atrocities in Gaza and everything else around the world. But
Right.
as we start to realize, maybe the only way we can actually expand and be able to move beyond and go to this next level or next octave of experience, and all experience is subjective, is by realizing that there is no objective truth. All experience is by nature subjective. The only way that you can get a higher understanding or awareness of truth would be to sum up or possibly somehow retrieve every possible subjective perspective on that truth. And maybe that's what the universe is actually doing by dividing into each of us, because then I can't see itself without the aid of a mirror. Likewise, consciousness cannot perceive itself without dividing itself into mirrors. And maybe we are just those mirrors. And now we're getting a new type of mirror to reflect as we expand our realm. And the expansion that we do is by turning all of those things that we thought were unpatterned, that we could not perceive because we're not frequency. Our frequency was not matching the resonance of the frequency of the thing that we wanted to perceive. We only perceive it and only perceive the pattern and only perceive the equations that go along with that when we are ready to do so. And maybe that's something we chose all along.
Wow, we could do this all day. And that, my friends, listening and watching, is the cosmic equation. And what you just said, Robert, is priceless, because whether 3i Atlas is a comet, a craft, or a calling, it's reminding us that the universe is a mirror reflecting our own search
It's
for
a U
meaning.
inverse. It's a U inverse. You're not separate from it.
Undeniably true. And a big heartfelt thank you to you for bridging the words of science, spirit, and symphony today. I mean, you really did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
For all those listening, you can check out Robert's groundbreaking work directly on the gram at Robert Edward Grant. You can also go directly to his website at robertedwardgrant.com. You definitely need to stay curious, stay inspired, and remember that the greatest discoveries often begin with a single question: what if? You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. Until next time, keep your hearts open and your eyes on the stars. You're listening to A Moment of Xen. This has been the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Xen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. Today, we're joined by a powerhouse couple in plastic surgery, Dr. Ramtin Kassir and Dr. Sheila Kassir. Dr. Ramtin is a triple board-certified plastic surgeon and reconstructive surgeon, internationally recognized as one of the foremost experts in facial rejuvenation and rhinoplasty. He's been featured across major media outlets, including the New York Times, Fox News, and CNN, and his expertise has been trusted by countless public figures. Alongside him is his equally dynamic partner, Dr. Sheila Kassir. She's a board-certified plastic surgeon, international beauty expert, and founder of Inside Beauty Spa and her own beauty brand, Inside Beauty by KASSIR MDs. Together, they're breaking down the new era of recovery, where science meets self-care, exploring how innovations like hyperbaric oxygen therapy and CO2 Lift Pro are helping patients heal faster, improve outcomes, and redefine post-procedure wellness. Here's a fun fact. The global aesthetic medicine market is expected to surpass $180 billion by the year 2030. That's just a few years away. And recovery innovation is a major driver of that growth. Here to break it all down are the amazing Kassirs. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Thank you for having us in.
Hi.
All right, let's dive right in. So excited to chat with both of you. Dr. Ramtin, you have over 2 decades in private practice, and it's safe to say the field has definitely evolved tremendously, specifically when it comes to pre- and post-procedure care. What have you seen change over the years, and would you say it's now considered just as important as the procedure itself?
The recovery now is actually part of the surgery. Like in 2025, recovery is the procedure. 20 years ago, actually, I've been in practice 29 years. So when I first started, you would put the last stitch in and that was it. Now, that's when the procedure really begins. So we design the recovery the same way we design the operation, meaning like from preconditioning the skin, optimizing nutrition, LED photobiomodulation, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, IV infusions, and we're personalizing what we're doing with the patients in terms of their blood work. So AI is actually helping us do that. So, lymphatic drainage, these things accelerate healing. They reduce your swelling and make you look better faster.
Now, Dr. Sheila, I'm going to refer to you as Dr. Sheila because you're both Kassir, so we're going to regulate like that. So, Dr. Sheila, let's talk about one specific form of post-procedure care, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, an advanced recovery treatment trusted by elite athletes, Hollywood stars, and experts like yourself. It's also something offered right at your Inside Beauty location in New York City, which is pretty proprietary because it's not like you bump into an oxygen chamber every now and then, right? Like so easily. So for those unfamiliar, can you break down the science behind the HBOT chamber, how it accelerates healing and recovery, and who benefits most?
It's basically a chamber where you lie in, but our wellness center, our Inside Beauty Med Spa actually has one where you can sit comfortably. It floods the body with oxygen under pressure. That means instead of breathing in what you usually breathe in, about 21% of oxygen, you get 100% of oxygen. And that leads to just better healing, faster healing. It reduces inflammation and it helps with the overall job. Like when you have patients who go to our wellness center after surgery and you look at their sutures after, let's say, a week, you can really say, this patient went into the hyperbaric oxygen chamber and this patient didn't. You see the acceleration of the healing. And it's as if, imagine you would build a house with one person or with 500 people. That's how much faster you can heal. And this, as I said, has been extraordinary. And as you mentioned, it's not only used in plastic surgery. We also have athletes who come in. We have people with who battle fatigue, or patients from after other surgeries like orthopedic surgery, because assume you had something on your knee done. That kind of tissue, like the ligaments, don't have good blood supply. There's not many vessels around knees or elbows or anything orthopedically. And when you go into the oxygen chamber, you just have extra oxygen that really helps to heal. So we love it. And our patients really enjoy being there because they can sit, they can actually work on their laptop or do anything while they do something good that they can do for the outcome of their surgery.
That's incredible. I mean, for context, for those listening or watching, studies show what she's talking about, that hyperbaric oxygen therapy increases tissue oxygenation concentration by up to 1,200%. That's a big number, and that dramatically speeds up healing after both surgical and non-surgical procedures. So it's fascinating to see how this medical grade recovery tool is now being adapted for the aesthetic world. It's truly proprietary. Congratulations to have that in your office.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Ramtin, so this segues perfectly into my next question, because CO2 Lift Pro, which is a topical carboxy gel, is often compared to hyperbaric oxygen chambers in how it supports recovery. So can you explain how both treatments utilize oxygen differently and how you incorporate CO2 Lift into your own practice before or after surgery?
I mean, that's great. And thank you for asking that, Zen. So both hyperbaric oxygen therapy and this CO2 lift revolve around oxygen, but from opposite directions. So the CO2 lift gel uses carbon dioxide to actually trick the skin into absorbing more oxygen naturally. Hyperbaric therapy, what Dr. Sheila just talked about, pushes more oxygen into the bloodstream under pressure. So in our practice, we combine them. CO2 lift pre-surgery to prep the skin, get it ready, and post-surgery to minimize bruising and speed recovery. It's really oxygen biohacking aesthetic style.
That's such a great explanation. You're right on. And the fact that a topical treatment like CO2 Lift can mimic the effects of carboxy therapy without injections or downtime is truly game changer, especially when we know that oxygen flow to the skin declines about 60% between ages 20 and 60. So it's empowering patients to heal smarter, not harder. And that's what it's all about. Now, Dr. Sheila, your Inside Beauty Med Spa also focuses on non-surgical aesthetic treatments. We're all about that. Can CO2 Lift play a role here too, either as a prep step or recovery aid after facials, peels, or laser treatments?
Yes, it absolutely does. It just like my husband just said, what I wanted to add, like many patients already know about the hyperbaric oxygen, and they don't always know about the CO2 lift. And then I'm like, you know what? You can actually do the same with a topical, in a topical way, and use a mask. And then they're like all about it, because if you can go into the chamber, you can even use this mask in the spa, or even when you go home after surgery. So this is really something that patients value. And at the spa, we use it a lot after laser. Like this is the laser season. We have many like CO2 lasers, and the redness, you can really recover from that much quicker when you use the CO2 lift. We usually try to advise this really on top of any laser, because it finishes any procedure in the best possible way.
Exactly. And that's such an exciting bridge between beauty and medicine when you look at, the neoangiogenesis or adding oxygenating or CO2 infused treatments. Those without a doubt reduce that post-treatment inflammation significantly, up to 40%, and it visibly also improves that skin hydration and texture in just under 40 minutes, right? So it's the kind of innovation that's redefining spa recovery. And I love that you offer this in your med spa. Now, Dr. Ramtin, let's shift gears to the emotional side of the recovery process, because even with advanced treatments, recovery can still feel daunting and emotionally draining for patients. So how do you help patients manage that emotional roller coaster? And what role does your wellness and recovery center play in helping them feel calm and cared for throughout?
I mean, that's the crux of what we've been doing the last few years, to kind of, as an adjunct to my almost 30 years in practice. And as you just mentioned, Zen, recovery is as emotional as it is physical. So now they come in and done all this surgery, but then patients go through waves. You have swelling, you have bruising, and now the doubt comes in. What did I do? So our wellness center gives them a sanctuary, 24/7 nursing. You have these private suites that I'll tell you are better than any hotel in New York. If you don't believe me, just go to them and see. And then we have IV therapy, LED, photobiomodulation, like real LED photobiomodulation, hyperbaric oxygen, the CO2 lift. We have IV infusions, again, tailored to your blood work. Everything's designed to make them feel cared for and calm. And then when patients feel supported, they heal faster and they look better. It's medicine meeting mindfulness. 100%, not 99, of the patients who sign up for the minimum 3 days at the wellness center, that's the minimum requirement, extend.
Wow. This feels like an experience. It's almost like every mother's dream, without a doubt. And you have a place to stay that's better than any hotel room in the city. And so well said. I think more and more patients appreciate when their surgeon takes that holistic approach, because the psychological recovery, like you said, can be just as important as the physical one. Now, one last question before we wrap up here for you, Dr. Sheila. You're known for bridging science and self-care and creating a truly 360-degree beauty experience. It's everything we've been talking about up until now. As technology and wellness continue to evolve, what do you see as the next frontier in surgical and even non-surgical aesthetics, and more importantly, the way patients experience beauty and healing?
I think for patients, it's really important not just to look better, they want to feel better. If I just do plastic surgery, I think some people, it doesn't automatically make someone look younger. It maybe makes them look better or more attractive, but not always younger. Like, I feel like you can see if someone is in their 50s and has plastic surgery, that doesn't mean you look like the 20-year-old always. But if you feel better on top of that, you do look younger. If you really want to look younger, like, the holistic approach is what everybody is asking for. The demand is really more towards, and it doesn't matter if it's surgical or non-surgical. When I come in and I say, now is the time to take care of myself, I want the whole shebang. So please don't skip anything that I need to know to do at this moment. So this is our goal. Like, if there's something we need to offer to complete their treatment, we offer it. And that's the whole title of what I stand for.
That's the ethos. And that's such a powerful perspective. And it feels like the industry is finally catching up to what women have always known, that beauty isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. And between wearable tech that monitors recovery and regenerative ingredients like exosomes, I mean, we're entering an era where science and self-care truly coexist. And you guys are living proof of this with your incredible facility. Thank you so much for coming on. I learned so much. I'm excited to come check out your facility
Please do so.
just to say hi.
You have to come. You have to come and try all the devices and get a CO2 lift and all that.
I sign me up. That was the incredible Dr. Ramtin Kassir and Dr. Sheila Kassir, a powerhouse couple redefining what it means to heal beautifully from the inside out. To learn more about their amazing work, you could visit them directly on their website at drkassir.com and www.insidebeautyspa.com, and be sure to follow them on the gram at Dr. Kassir and at Dr. Sheila Kassir, and of course at Inside Beauty Spa. That was our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. In our health tip of the week brought to you by Cispera, today we're discussing an often overlooked skincare area, especially during the winter months, your hands. With colder weather and more frequent hand washing, hands become dry, irritated, and can also have pigmentation. While many focus on facial skincare, your hands also need consistent care, including hydration and pigmentation treatments. Keeping your hands healthy not only prevents cracking and discomfort, but also helps maintain an overall polished appearance. And this simple habit is especially helpful during the seasonal shift. That was our health tip of the week brought to you by Cispera. Be sure to check them out at cispera.com or on the gram at Cispera with a Y. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cispera. If skin discoloration is making it hard to find your Zen, Cispera can help. Stubborn pigmentation, dark spots, and uneven skin tone concerns go beyond the surface, affecting both confidence and self-expression. In a sea of skincare choices, Cispera stands apart. Backed by science and trusted by dermatologists worldwide, Cispera is powered by the advanced cysteamine isobonic amide complex, delivering clinically proven results and effectively targeting mild to persistent discoloration while restoring the skin's natural glow. Unlike harsh treatments, Cispera is formulated for all skin types, including sensitive areas, ensuring visible improvements without irritation. Whether pigmentation is a new concern or a long-standing struggle, Cispera works in harmony with the skin to bring balance, clarity, and renewed confidence. Cispera is science-driven skincare for confidence that shines. Find your skin zen and restore your glow with Cispera today by heading to Cispera.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Clean Collective segment brought to you by Society Brands. Today's conversation is both heartbreaking and healing. It's about 14-year-old Zuza Baini, whose 11-year battle with acute myeloid leukemia defied nearly every medical statistic. And according to the National Cancer Institute, AML accounts for about only 1 in 5 childhood leukemia cases and carries a 5-year survival rate of just 29%. Yet Zuza survived over a decade, 3 bone marrow transplants later, proving that resilience isn't just a word, it's an energy. Through social media, Zuza shared her journey with millions, turning hospital rooms into windows of hope. Her passing in September of 2025 sparked a nationwide conversation about how we care for children and families facing long-term illness. And at the center of that conversation is her mother, Dr. Dagmara Baini, a clinician and researcher in integrative and functional medicine. And out of the loss, she created Zuza's Way Integrative Care, bridging traditional oncology with nutritional science, psychoneuroimmunology, and the spiritual components of healing. When you consider that roughly 1 in 285 children will be diagnosed with cancer before age 20, and that chronic stress in caregiving parents can increase inflammatory biomarkers by as much as 40%, you realize this story isn't just about survival. It's about the science of resilience and the alchemy of love. Dr. Biney, welcome to the show, superstar. It's an honor to celebrate Zuza's light and the legacy you built through her.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to go to the beginning. For most parents, milestones mean first steps or first words, not first rounds of chemotherapy. And when you look at the research from the American Psychological Association, it shows that parents of chronically ill children often experience PTSD level stress within the first year of diagnosis. So can you take us back to when you first heard Zuza's diagnosis and what those early days taught you about strength, faith, and motherhood?
Yes, I think that most families or individuals who hear the word cancer, the rug gets pulled out from underneath your feet. And especially when it's your baby, I think anybody would trade up disease for themselves instead of your baby. We were in shock. We were both in medicine. So my husband and I are both in medicine, but that did not mean we understood cancer, leukemia, the whole oncology world. And, your brain and your heart automatically go to despair and am I going to lose my baby? But very quickly, I think for most families, it turns into what can we do? How do we get through this? She's going to be a survivor. And what are all the tools that we're going to use to allow her to have the best journey?
That description is so visceral, how you overcame it and really kind of found a way to turn every moment into something meaningful and really choose to transform it into action rather than paralysis, because that's really what you've done. That's truly almost like a neurobiological miracle in itself. I mean, you've done incredible things in just the last couple of years, which brings me to Zuza's 11 year of defiance. I mean, clearly she had a very strong role model and she had a strong mama, but Zuza was never statistically supposed to make it that far. But what science can't always quantify is the almost like the placebo effect of hope. Now well documented, right, in psychoneuroimmunology, but positive expectation alone, without a doubt, modulates, that cytokine activity and enhances that immune function. And I think that had a lot to do with the way you internalized all of it. So what do you believe contributed most to Zuza's resilience? I mean, was it mindset? Was it medicine? Was it something beyond what science can measure?
Yes, I think that there's two things that helped Zuza defy, every odd that we were ever given. One was Zuza never just did conventional medicine. So from the beginning, and as I, changed my career to learn and know integrative oncology, Zuza always was, whatever chemotherapy or immune therapy she did, it was always supported. And she always did a lot of integrative oncology treatments and support and gut healing and, nutrition. All that really made a difference in her ability to stay here longer. But her hope and her real belief always that she's going to be okay, was the biggest thing that contributed to her being able to be here for 11 years when most children who get diagnosed with AML rarely get a cure and will die within 2 years. And she was able to just continue on, even though the last 5 years, most of those 5 years, she lived with a lot of leukemia in her body. I know it was a big shock to the world that she died, but people didn't realize how much leukemia she was actually living with, because she always came on with a smile and positivity. And even when we would get distraught, her dad and I, in what's next? Towards her 13 and 14 year of her life, she's the one that would look at us and be like, I'm going to be okay. Like, what's the next thing?
Yeah, she spoke to millions. And what you said is so enlightening. It really underscores how the mind-body coherence, that neural immune connection is often the missing link in modern care, and she embodied that link. It brings tears to my eyes because it's almost like this beautiful revelation within her story. It's beautiful, and I'm so honored to talk about this with you. Now let's talk about from pain to purpose. So there's a clinical term for what you've done. It's called post-traumatic growth, right? It's a documented phenomenon where grief becomes a catalyst for helping others. So what inspired you to found Zuza's Way Integrative Care, and how does your work there honor Zuza's life while supporting other families walking very similar paths?
So very early on, when Zuza was diagnosed when she was 3.5 years old, I saw how incomplete cancer care was. And it's not just for children, just in the world, really. And so I looked at the world to try to find a practitioner that could help her with nutrition, with supplements, with other integrative therapies. And I couldn't find a practitioner that would work with kids and do those things. And since I was already in medicine, I made it my mission in life to become that practitioner. And so over the 11 years that she walked this journey, I went back to school and opened a clinic that focused on integrative oncology. And during her journey and during being able to help her and support her, I also specialized and, wrote the first book on integrative oncology for pediatrics and have helped hundreds of families, adults and kids, through their own cancer journeys because I get it, right? So I came from conventional medicine. I had that really good background. I'm walking the journey. I'm able to help my daughter, and it only made sense then to help other families also walking this very hard journey. And it helped me too, because there's so many beautiful kids and adults who have been my patients and are my patients who are thriving and doing amazing. It's just something that I knew I had to do. It wasn't, it just sort of snowballed.
So the World Health Organization now recognizes integrative medicine as essential for chronic disease management, yet only about 12% of oncology clinics offer comprehensive nutritional and stress reduction support. And your approach fills that gap beautifully. So for those new to integrative medicine, what are some of the most overlooked aspects of healing, especially for children and families managing long-term illness?
Yeah. So really it's the simple things that are overlooked. We think of integrative oncology, and I think a lot of people think it might be like woo-woo medicine and weird treatments, but it's really the foundation of getting the right sleep, getting in nature, making sure that there's safety and laughter. Nutrition is absolutely key while you're going through cancer treatment. And then, of course, we layer that with certain supplements. There's certain amazing herbs, high dose vitamin C, mistletoe therapy, red light therapy. There's so many things that you can take and layer on to conventional treatment to make conventional treatment less toxic and more effective. And so it's really not saying no to chemotherapy or radiation. Chemotherapy, unfortunately, was something that Zuza needed in order to be able to stay here. But being able to support that with so many other integrative therapies is what allowed her, I believe, to thrive through so many of those years.
You have knowledge is power. And I love that you were in control of that ship. And we often forget the gut-brain axis and the circadian biology and environmental toxic load, that those influence everything. I mean, from cellular repair to even emotional regulation. So I love that you're teaching families to optimize biology, not just battle the disease.
Yes, that's very important. I also think it's very important just to say that all those things are essential for anybody listening not on a cancer journey. Like, that is where prevention sits. It's in what we put in our body, what we put on our body, how much time we spend in nature or environment. Like, that is where true cancer prevention is, not just in the early screenings that are talked about.
Yeah, you said it. It's exactly right. It's in the prevention. Now let's chat about social media and legacy. So social media is usually criticized for disconnection, yet for you and Zuza, it became a lifeline. So how did sharing her journey publicly shape both of your families' healing and the way you view community in the digital age?
Yes, when she relapsed, for the first time, she was 9 years old. So she did not have friends, school. community. This was also around COVID time, so we couldn't have been more isolated. And so she asked if she could have a phone and if she could start recording these little videos in the hospital. A lot of people say like, oh, well, you were a big part of it. No, we weren't. Like Zuza did all that on her own. I mean, she put that camera and she was just incredibly authentic and positive, and it was such a good thing for her to be able to feel like a normal teenage girl. It eventually brought her to be part of the Glow House, which allowed her to feel like she was also a normal teenage girl talking about makeup and not just concentrating on the fact that before she did that video and after, she might be throwing up or getting platelets at the hospital or finishing a treatment.
She's definitely left a huge impact, not just on social media, but on the community that looked after her and cared for her. So this is beautiful. Now we're going to talk about the message to other parents. So parenting through illness rewires the brain. Mama, you have got your hands full, because we know those MRI studies, they show changes in the anterior cingulate and insula. It's the regions that process empathy and resilience. So if you could share one message with parents navigating fear, hospitals, and uncertainty right now, what would it be?
It's really, this sounds cliche, and I used to hear it and I didn't practice it. And it took me a while through this journey to be able to practice truly staying in the moment with your child. Because the truth is, whether you're on a cancer journey or any illness journey or not, you never know how much time you have here with your loved ones. And being able to stay present in the moment and not worrying about, is she going to die? Am I going to lose my daughter? If I would have stayed there in the last couple of years, I would have missed out on the absolute most beautiful and breathtaking memories that we had the last, especially the last 3 years, especially the last couple months. And we didn't know that Zuza was, quote unquote, dying. Her death also came because she lived with so much leukemia for so long. It happened quick. She was okay, her okay on Friday. She made a video on Friday and she passed away on Monday. It was quick and sudden. And so my best advice is just to stay in the moment, right? Just stay in the moment with your loved ones and make those memories, because nobody could ever take those away from you.
Yeah, that's such a universal truth. And that love is an immunologic signal too. Your message gives permission for parents to breathe again. And I think it's important. And I have a personal question for you. I mean, you don't have to answer this, but was Zuza afraid of death?
Yes, she was. And I don't know if it was more, as a 14-year-old, we talked about it, but the conversation would often end with, "But I'm going to be okay, Mama. Like, I'm not dying. I'm going to be okay." And I said, "Yeah, we're okay. We're okay." I think at the end she knew, because the last 24 to 48 hours before she took her last breath at home with me, I was able to bring her into this world, and I was able to help her transition out of this world. And that was beautiful in a way. I think she knew. She said things to us that were almost like these last messages, like, pay attention to Finn. That's her brother. They were very close. And my parents live with us. She held my dad's hand and like told him how much she loved him, like made a point out of that. So, we told her, we gave her permission. And I think that's what she needed at the end, is like, you can go, baby. Like you can go, like, we're going to be okay. And she did. And it was quick, and thank goodness, because those last 24 to 48 hours, there was a lot of suffering on her end.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And her work is not done. She's working through you. The legacy is there. The community is there. Her voice. And more importantly, she had a purpose. These 11 years, the 14 years, but the 11 of them, like you said, where it was just a lot of, there was a lot on the plate. through all of this, there was an evolution that ultimately, without a doubt, is paving the way for the next generation of cancer survivors, cancer, people who are in it right now, and more importantly, research. But her will on those videos, and her love of life, and her wanting to connect with absolutely every single person that left a comment on her page when she was active. That's where I saw so much strength. I was like, this beautiful soul. And she touched me just watching her videos. I actually learned makeup tips from her. I learned how to highlight because of her. I was like, oh, she introduced me to some brands I didn't even know existed. My 10-year-old daughter now still follows the account. Like, she reached everyone.
Yeah, I think to myself, like, I wish I would have learned more makeup tips from her. But yes, she was a force and dearly missed. We're trying to learn how to live without her physical presence. But yes, we will continue her legacy and her message in any way that we can.
Listeners, viewers, you can learn more at zuzasway.com and follow Dagmara directly on the gram at Dagmara Bine for resources and inspiration. That's spelled Dagmara, Beine. That was the Clean Collective segment brought to you by Society Brands. You're listening to A Moment of Zen, where science meets soul and stories become medicine. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cleanomic. Cleanomic zip bags are certified compostable. They break down into nutrient-rich fertilizer that nourishes the earth. They're BPA-free, so no harmful chemicals leak into your food. Available in snack, sandwich, quart, and gallon sizes. They ship straight to your door. No more store runs. Plus, get free trash bags for life with the subscription. Protect your food and health from hidden microplastic particles by heading to cleanomic.com today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nancy Gerasmo. I am currently working alongside of Dr. Melillo within the Melillo Centers, and we are doing something called RPM. And RPM stands for Rapid Prompting Method. And what this is the most amazing thing personally from my child, who is 25 years old, who I had brought to a therapist years ago, and he started doing this method. Then I got trained and felt so compelled to bring this and pay it forward. Once my son was able to spell on these boards, being minimally verbal, it has been an absolute game changer for our lives. The center here believes in these children as we do as RPM therapists, really sees them for the brilliance that they are. And then all of a sudden, what we are just so amazed at, most of them are so interested in letters that we noticed that everyone that comes in here, they know their letters, and they could be as young as 3. So we're excited to bring this to the centers, and we know that it has been changing lives like every day. And for me, because I have my own child, it's my heart and soul. And I would love to share this with anybody that's seeing this video right now. Come to the Melillo Centers to see how we blend these two things together. It's the most soulful work I could tell you that I've done.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
In business and in life, there's always an upside. Finding it is often the challenge. Having a mindset that looks for it and embraces problems as opportunities is the key to thriving. Finding the Upside with Maria de Lorenzis Reyes explores the transformative power of optimism, featuring visionary business owners, influential leaders, and inspiring everyday people. Tune in and see how they navigate changing conditions with optimism and innovation. Watch the special series One Tough Chick, highlighting resilient and powerful women, streaming on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Well, that's a wrap, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Remember to join me right here on A Moment of Zen every Saturday night, or you could head to amomentofzen.com for live listening links and episode downloads in your city. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, directly on our channel at Zen Sams. And all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on your home TV streaming platform. You can head directly to mox.yourhometv.com. It's family friendly, free listening to you. And of course, tune in every Saturday night. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be back next week.